Welcome back to another episode of the Plant.Body.Soul podcast. And it's a year in review for us. I'm sitting here with my co-host, Gordon.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
Hi.
And Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going good.
Good.
I'm also shocked that we are somehow another year into the future.
I know. It's crazy.
It happened so fast.
Too fast.
It only gets faster.
It does. That's what they say.
It's true. I remember being a kid, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, gosh, I cannot wait till I'm 18 or 21 and then probably like around 35, I think I remember the bathing suits, the birthdays, seem to just like fly by and the years get quicker and quicker. And then 40. And then it was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
Is this what midlife is? No, it's not midlife because we are living older and older now.
That's true.
I'm going to be 120 when I decide to leave. I've seen it.
That's a long way to go. 120 is a lot of years from now.
But we're taking into consideration that we have a lot of AI technology that's going to make life and aging different.
Yes.
So,
I feel like I'm less interested in the human developments for aging, but I did hear that there's a drug coming on the market to lengthen the lifespan of your dog.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
That's something I'm very interested in.
Oh, good.
Yeah, especially with a big Great Dane.
I want my girl to be there forever. I want her to be here forever, though.
Yeah.
Imagine how many dog years that's going to be.
So many.
A lot.
So many.
Yeah, wow.
That's amazing.
Well, what was your favorite PBS event this year? Let's just get right to it.
Let's do it.
Man, we had so many events, I feel like. And I always forget that they're happening until we're reviewing them and you realize how many events we actually managed to pull off this year, which was really exciting.
Yeah.
I think my favorite event still, though, to this day is probably the Galentine's event from Pause. Just such good energy and good vibes from every single person that came. I had such a good time during that event. But Friday Howdy After Dark is a real close tie.
Ooh, which one though? We had two this year.
Honestly, I really enjoyed the latest one that we just did a few months ago. I think having Weed Maps as a sponsor, being able to actually like involve the community in the podcast, I think was probably my favorite part of it. And it just felt like a more well-oiled machine because we knew what we were doing a little bit.
Agreed.
Which is nice.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
After Dark.
After Dark, second one.
Friday High Day After Dark. The nightlife version of our Friday High Day.
At Warehouse 215, because we had already had the event there once. And so
we learned from it.
We learned some things. And that was definitely my favorite event. I would also say our involvement with Walter and Walter Yoga, bringing that back was exciting.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. The bringing Walter Yoga back was very sweet for both of us, and I would say even more so for you after so many years.
Yeah, just that partnership, keeping that going after the pandemic, and it's great.
Yeah, we enjoy that relationship very much. And then also, yes, Friday High Day After Dark in September was definitely a highlight, and I think it was a highlight in many ways for me from like the production side, how it was like everything was so smooth and things were done and we were like
almost suspicious.
I was dressed before the event started and there before we opened the doors for the first time ever. I'm usually running right as we open the doors to go get changed, and it just felt like everything was so smooth and the layout was awesome and the vibe was high, of course.
Pun intended.
Yeah, that was really cool. I really loved the Weed Maps podcast confessional.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That was really cool. It's something that I've yet to see be done in events. I mean, there's always live podcasts at other cannabis events here and in the Valley, but this one was just different.
Yeah.
It was different.
I'm always like genuinely surprised at how comfortable people are talking about themselves, and honestly sometimes even like those like deep dark secrets they don't tell anybody else. As soon as you put a podcast mic on them, I think everyone seemed like they didn't have a hard time at all letting us know a little bit about their personality, their history and smoking and cannabis, and some of those funny stories about mishaps in cannabis.
Yes, those were the best.
I'm always just genuinely surprised that people are so open and honest and comfortable talking about stuff like that, which is great.
It's cool. It shows that we're progressing, I think, as a society. The taboo is maybe not so taboo now.
Yes.
I think the kids are saying embrace the cringe. So it's okay to it's okay to be a little bit cringy. As everyone's a little bit cringy, just
Right?
let's be cringy together.
Yeah. Yeah. No judgment for the cringe.
Otherwise known as authenticity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's refreshing.
What about your biggest personal win for good old 2023? Personal wins? Emphasis on personal.
We could talk about
thought
personal L's for a second if you'd like, though.
Yeah.
First. So listen, my little brother called me yesterday out of the blue because he wanted to let me know that the fact that I am sick again this year is a loss. It's an L. It's something I should be ashamed of. So that's my biggest L. My biggest loss of 2023 is I somehow managed to be sick like every other month, and I'm not sure why. But in terms of wins, I feel like I learned a lot about my personality and myself and the things that I need in order to be like happy and successful. So maybe in all that downtime being sick, I won something, in fact, in just learning about myself.
There's always a silver lining to that dark rain cloud.
Yeah.
There really is. And it sounds like you found it.
Yeah, through a lot of Dayquil.
Yes.
And you did it high.
And I did it high.
So,
Hey, you know,
clearly.
that's a win.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
How about you?
Well, there's been a lot. 2023 was a lot, personally. It was a lot of clarity and awakening and inner looking and not being afraid to dive deep into my own self, the way I show up in personal relationships, the way in my romantic partnerships, and understanding patterns of behavior. What am I missing here? And not being afraid to go into the painful parts and being angry and allowing myself to be angry, which as a yoga and meditation teacher, sometimes there's this tendency to bypass it with more yoga and meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that
Feel your feelings, though.
I felt my feelings this year, and I cleared out a lot of distraction. I got very clear on what I wanted, and I would say the biggest, and that was definitely a win. It was painful, but it was a win. And ultimately, I would say it's recent, but 2023 is the year I fell in love.
Oh,
For real.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I have the most amazing man in my life, who was just on the podcast, Butch Williams. So this is kind of my coming out right now. But yeah, I'm in love with a really awesome human. So
He
makes
is
me happy.
awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Yes, very happy for you.
Thank you.
That's awesome. What about you, Gordon?
For me, I'll start with, I guess the more personal development would be a daily meditation practice has been noticeable this year. Being able to sit still for 20 minutes at a time on a daily basis. Definitely have noticed the benefit of that. Notice when I don't do it versus when I do it, and just the clarity and just towards the end of any day that I do meditate, I just feel better as the day goes on, and we all get kind of hit with different things during the day. It doesn't seem like they impact me as much as they would when I don't meditate. And then the other personal win would be hitting 5,000 miles on my one wheel.
Ooh, nice.
It was a big deal for me.
That thing terrifies me, Gordon.
It terrifies me too.
Every time I see someone on it, it just feels like something bad's about to happen.
It can. A lot of bad things can happen on that
I'm
device.
glad that you've made it 500 miles?
5,000.
5,000 miles. You made 5,000 miles safely.
Miles, yeah,
That's
safely. No broken bones or
a big
anything.
win.
And I ride it about every day. And speaking of meditation, it's kind of a moving meditation where I definitely feel better when I go out for a ride, and then I'm in a better mood when I come home.
That's good.
What's one story you'd like to tell from this year? Could be anything.
I guess more so than a story I'd like to tell is, I'd like to give like a personal anecdote, I guess. I don't know if that's the word. I don't listen. English is my first language, but it's not my best language.
It's okay. You're doing great.
I feel like, so I was blessed enough to be able to travel a lot this summer, which was really nice and very much unexpected. I think it's definitely partially the way I was raised, partial to my sign, partial to my personality, but I'm always a person who will just kind of go for things. If there's an opportunity, if there's a will, there's a way, I'm going to do it. I don't care how I do it, but I'm going to do it. And because of that, I got to travel a lot this summer, and kind of just speaking to people throughout the year. I feel like I got the question a lot of just like, how do you do it? Or, well, you know, what makes you feel comfortable? Like, how do you just pull the trigger doing that? And I feel like one of the biggest lessons I learned this year is just like, if you really, 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 really want something, you will find a way to make it happen. Even if you've got to move hell and high water to get it done, even if you have to get uncomfortable to get it done, you will get it done. And so I think that, not the story, but the anecdote I'd want to kind of leave people with is just like, if there's something that is calling to you or scratching at your soul or always in the back of your head or keeps popping up, you know, angel numbers or just, you know, coincidences or whatever, like that's definitely a sign from the universe, and you should do anything that you can to listen to that, honor that, and then try and pursue it in whatever way that means for you.
Agreed.
I think that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's great advice.
Yeah, because when I tell you that I'll buy a little $50 flight on Spirit, I will, and I'll sleep on somebody's couch. But if that means I get to go to the city I want to go to, that's where I'm going.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's courageous. It's brave. It's a brave way to be.
It scares my mom for sure, but
that's okay.
She keeps it to herself most of the time, which is nice for her.
Well, you know, for me, gosh, I mean, one story I'd like to tell. There's so many stories, but I think it goes in line with what I shared, you know, personally for me this year. The ability to connect with source, whatever that is for you, whether it's God or Buddha or universe or whatever, it's so tangible and available right now. That was very apparent to me this year when I got, you know, when I just wrote down what I wanted and got very clear and looked at it all day, and then also forgave myself for my mistakes and my insecurities, and, you know, told myself, my little girl, that I loved her. And I had that written down and I looked at it every day. The ability to forgive myself, to get really clear on what I wanted, and to be able to connect right to source and manifest. And such a interesting word, because it's like such a buzzword, but it is the truth. I with energy and focused attention, you can make that happen, whether it's positive or negative. And for me, it was just, number one, remembering, you know, who I am underneath all of the mistakes and, you know, insecurities and all the things that we hold as humans. It was remembering my connection to source, and also honestly remembering my Judaism once again, you know. And I guess what I'd like to share is that it's possible to have anything that you want in this world if you give it the time and focused attention and your faith.
I think that part about forgiving yourself is also really important, because I think a lot of people get stuck wanting to do better and feeling like they need to do better, but not allowing them the space to start fresh or to pick up a new journey without feeling like they've got to punish themselves for the things that they were unable or incapable of doing before. Every single day is a brand new day.
Yes.
And you got to forgive yourself for what you didn't get done yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. Every day, every sunrise is a new
start.
Opportunity, a fresh start. And it doesn't matter what happened yesterday or anybody else's opinions of you. It's you that matters.
Yeah.
You can make it happen.
2 stories come to mind. First one's short, and it's the saying, be first. And in context of, in a scenario where you are interacting with other humans, or that person who you see in a place, in a line, in a coffee shop, and you know that there might be a connection. It's that idea of be first, engage, be that one that says hi, because that person is probably thinking the same thing or wanting that connection as well. And I felt at some point I learned that this year, and I always have it kind of ringing in the back of my mind of like, be first, in terms of like, be the one to say hi or be the one to take that first step. And that leads to my second story, which is how this year, one example of how we're connected, when Jen went to that conference in Boston and you did the interview with the guys from Dispenza.
Yes.
And then
they turned out to be burners.
Yeah, they turned out to be burners. And then before I know it, one of their teammates' wife is then looking for a camp and camping with us. And then at the last minute, the CEO of the business
needs a camp
and camps with us. And then we become all just great friends after that. And then that led to, working together and just a friendship that happened from a spark that happened from you putting yourself out there, we as a business putting ourselves out there, going to this conference, and just knowing that we're all at some level connected. The 6 or 8 degrees of separation.
I think it's 6, but it could be whatever degree you want.
Whatever you want it to be. But in cannabis, it seems to be even less, especially in this town, for sure. So just recognizing that connection and the power of a network is really important, I think, on a personal and professional level. And just that saying, be first. And, again, putting yourself out there.
It's a really good one.
Thanks. Yeah. Because we all have this anxiety or nervousness in certain situations, and you realize that that person is probably thinking the same thing, and all it takes is just a friendly hello, and then who knows, you could be fast friends from there.
Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So kind of a work question again. What did you find most impactful in terms of changes for this year in our industry?
Well, I guess there's 2 parts to that question. The industry of cannabis and the industry of social media, because I think that those 2 things have gone through a lot of really interesting changes this year. I guess cannabis not so much as social, just because I feel like as a general market, Arizona's getting its feet underneath it. We're getting some consistency in quality and brands and practices and policies. But anybody who exists on social knows that monster changes every single day, and it's really hard to keep up with. But in terms of like industry standards that have changed for the better, I think that just the radical authenticity has exploded this year.
Yeah, for sure.
More so than any other year in the past. To the point that everybody is subject to scrutiny online, and it's not just regular people anymore that feel like they're getting that backlash. It's people of all industries, it's people of all following levels, people of all celebrity statuses. I think it's really nice, and I think it's a positive thing that kind of evens the playing field for everybody who exists on social. There's definitely been a bit of an unfair dynamic shift, I guess, with people online, especially if you come already from some sort of background of people knowing you or some background of money or something like that. But I feel like this year has just allowed people to all be placed on the same playing field. And so all of your good and your bad is accessible to people. And I think in that, people have found a lot of ability to relate to each other and to empathize with each other more, and to seek out knowledge to understand each other more. And although I don't know if Instagram helped too much with that, but I know a lot of other platforms that are gaining more popularity. It's because they value authenticity and rewarding the creative more than the horde of people who consume their creativity. And I think that's a cool thing.
What platforms are you referring to?
Well, obviously TikTok, but there's even like some platforms that are popping up. I don't know if you guys have heard of Lemonade.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that'll be pretty big next year.
What is it?
It's called Lemon and then the number 8.
Lemon 8.
I think it combines pieces from TikTok, I think, and like what old school Tumblr used to be.
Okay.
And I think people are really wanting that more authentic personal vlog style content, and that's what they're getting from Lemonade. But you aren't going to do well on Lemonade if you're not willing to let people into your lives. And I think that's why it's been so big on new creators coming into the market. I feel like platforms that allow creators to be most authentically and most truthfully themselves are going to continue to grow and have been exploding this year. And platforms like Instagram, which values more so aesthetics and kind of status more than anything, are having a really hard time keeping up. And I think that's indicative of a really positive, honest future for social.
I would say AI is pretty impactful this year.
Oh, yeah. AI blew my mind this year. It blows my mind every single day, and it gets better and better.
It's probably the most impactful for me on a day-to-day in terms of, for me, ChatGPT right now, in using it to just level up what I'm looking for, what I'm creating in terms of, for me right now, just like written, like language. And it's not only made me happier with what I'm producing in terms of how I'm communicating, but it gives you more confidence when you're communicating with certain people that, if you know the right prompts and you know how to put it together, it just, I think it brings a certain amount of confidence, and I think it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's changed the game for everybody in the marketing industry, any creative. Absolutely. I'm going to switch it up, though, for my answer to the question. I'm really amazed to see how far we've come in psychedelics and research, and just knowing what my partner Butch Williams is working on, as well as with Dr. Sue Sicily, and the research that's going into the different molecules and plants and fungi that they're studying, and knowing what we're just like on the precipice of. It's been I think a lot of this year has been getting, this type of research set up for success, and organizations like, the ketamine clinics that we're seeing pop up. I mean, that's new, relatively new. And it feels like within the last year or so, it's become more mainstream. The message is getting out. This is helpful to people. It's legal. I just think that next year, we're really going to start to see more movement, more progress. So psychedelics, we've only scratched the surface.
We have. And what's interesting is the topics, and whether it's authenticity, and then you have AI, which is this huge piece of the puzzle, but having authenticity be important and experiences being important, and then there's this mental health component and the help with psychedelics. There is this connection with all of them. And I think that there's with many people, there's this fear that, AI is going to take over everything. But then you see this value of authenticity.
And that comes from the human behind the AI.
Exactly.
I think people are recognizing that AI is... I think people are recognizing AI as a tool for humans to be more human.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and I think...
and more efficient at being human.
Yeah. There's that whole sentiment of like, I'm not supposed to be paying taxes. Like, I'm supposed to be like laying in a field creating art. Like, that's what I'm supposed to be doing as a human.
Yeah.
That's what my animal body wants me to do, And being able to have access to AI allows me to get rid of all the stupid shit that I don't want to do.
Exactly.
And the stuff that takes up time and energy and makes my brain sad.
Yeah.
I can offload that onto something else and be able to spend more time doing what actually authentically makes me feel human.
Yes.
And I like that. I
Yes.
like that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the psychedelics can help.
The psychedelics can help.
Also helps, yes.
And I think even on like a non-psychedelic level, I think that people are opening their eyes more to just the benefits of like functional mushrooms in general.
Yep.
I have a favorite group of mushroom men called Tribe Mycelium in the Valley.
We love them.
That I love to go see, and I go see them at the farmers market. And every time I go there, it feels like they have a longer and longer and longer line. Just people wanting to get into lion's mane and reishi and buying the actual functional mushrooms to cook with, and just incorporating that into their diet because they want their brains to last longer. They want to feel happier. They want to feel more functional as a person. So like the functional mushroom plus the rise in the psychedelic mushroom together. Yes. I don't know about you guys. I'm ready for another renaissance. I'm okay with everybody awakening all at once. I think that's it's exciting and it's important, and hopefully that gets us closer to a point where we as humans can just lay around and eat fruit and make art, because I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
Not pay taxes.
Yes, that's right.
Shopping.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do all that stuff.
I love that art field for you. For me, it would be the beach, the water, and some tropical or Mediterranean island.
That sounds good too. That sounds pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be rocks for me.
It would be rocks for you.
Yeah.
The way you said that.
Yeah. Like climbing rocks. Come on, not like
not kicking rocks.
Not
like kicking rocks or
doing something
painting rocks.
Exactly.
Rocks.
Yeah. Climbing rocks. That is. I like to do that.
So looking forward, what is a trend or development you anticipate in the marketing world and cannabis industry in 2024?
More destigmatization.
Say that 10 times fast.
Right? Exactly. Psych.
Wait, not psych. No. Jinx.
Yeah.
Yeah, jinx.
Trying to go back to my 90s, my 90s lingo.
More destigmatization around cannabis and accessibility. And what comes to mind right away, two things. Mood Cannabis and the ads that they're doing are brilliant. If you haven't seen those online.
Yeah.
And the ability to make cannabis more accessible and bring a little humor around it and really do ads that I think those that consume, that have been around it for a long time, have been thinking and hoping that someday there would be ads that are on par with, what you see with alcohol and other substances that are not necessarily good for you. I'm really inspired by that. And then the other is I have to mention the Solo Stove ad with Snoop Dogg in terms.
Oh, so
that
good.
was brilliant.
In terms
so
of yes,
good.
So taking something that he is this icon around cannabis and really playing the biggest joke ever in terms of him quitting smoking, that going crazy, and then coming back around for an ad for a smokeless fire pit, which they are incredible. And that whole thing, amazing. I guess 19.5 billion impressions from that ad campaign.
Wow.
They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Who was the marketing agency behind that? I'm curious.
I'm not sure, but I'm sure we could find out.
Yeah.
And,
good job, guys, whoever you are.
Whoever came up with that.
Or gals, and both.
Yeah, knocked it out of the park. I feel like there's this wave of awareness that comes from these changes that are happening, and whether it's psychedelics and authenticity, all of it is just, it seems connected, and it seems like the Renaissance is coming.
I feel like that was a really good example of like very targeted advertising that reaches everybody, because you know how we always say, if you're marketing to everyone, you're marketing to no one. The fact that whoever was the creative lead on that knew that the concept of Snoop Dogg finally being done with smoking was going to resonate with so many stoners around the world, and people who were ex-stoners and people who are wannabe stoners and people who maybe have never touched the plant before but just know who Snoop Dogg is and what he's about.
For sure.
I think them being able to target that specifically to just perk up the ears of those specific people allowed more and more people to be able to relate to that commercial and to understand it. And on another vein, was the Super Bowl this year? Was that this year?
It was.
Okay, that seems like a lifetime ago.
Oh my gosh.
But obviously Super Bowl ads always
Yeah.
do well. People spend a lot of money on it. And I wish I remembered the exact name of the company or what exactly the ad was for, but I remember seeing an ad about a family who was coming together for the holidays, and there was a member of the family who was part of the LGBTQ community and was just having a really hard time presenting their identity to their family. And one of their family members spent like weeks and months like learning how to do makeup so that they could help that person to show up to dinner as their most authentic self.
Oh, wow.
And that also was one of those ads that had like a massive reach and just tugged on everyone's heartstrings. People were crying in the club. But I think it's because they knew exactly who they were reaching and who they were trying to speak to. And as a result, everybody was able to find a little piece of something from that ad to relate to and to understand and to bring back to their family. And so, yeah, those targeted ads where they know they know how to manipulate how you're going to feel in the end. Whether that's super sad because Snoop Dogg's not smoking, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Or if it's something that's a little bit softer in your heart that you feel for somebody in your family that, you know, is experiencing that inability to be themselves. But it was a good year for advertising.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this question. You know, something significant that did happen in 2023, it's kind of going back to this last one, was cannabis beverages in the market, in stores, available next to alcohol.
Yes.
In 2023. That was huge. So like in 2024, it would be really cool to see more of that in other markets. I don't know if that's a trend that's going to continue to develop, but I would love to see that. I'd also love to see like some sort of like time lapse where how many people are like looking at the beer that's on one side and then the stockpile of like cannabis beverages and who picks what over what.
Right.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
Something I feel like I'm looking forward to in 2024 is the continued rise of micro-influencers.
Yes.
I think that's been a really interesting thing to see this year, especially kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, just people just valuing authenticity and wanting to see more people as opposed to corporations. I feel like a lot of businesses and companies have had a hard time relating to people because they're coming from such a high standpoint, you know, above the crowd. But the fact that micro-influencers have been able to solidify themselves in the market and showcase themselves as just as important as they are, really, I think is really interesting, and I hope continues to flourish because micro-influencers run the world. They really do. And what's even better is with the addition of AI, micro-influencers are learning language that helps them to advocate for themselves better too. So it's less common that people are being taken advantage of or, you know, exploited for their ability and their talent because they have the knowledge and the vocabulary to be able to say, actually, you need to add a couple zeros to that proposal, you know, because ultimately the return that you're getting on your investment is massive comparatively, especially if you're being able to forego an entire production team to create an ad that very well could possibly flop or blow up in your face or have people, the quote, you know, the dreaded cancel. Like, you don't want to get canceled.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
And corporations are getting canceled left, right, and center because they don't know how to speak to people. They know how to speak to ideas.
Yes. Love that.
Yeah. What else are you guys excited for in 2024?
I'm excited for our retreats. Not gonna lie. I'm really excited about creating that.
Experiences.
New experiences. More wellness-oriented experiences. I want to, from my core, have always wanted to help people in some way, shape, or form. Help people feel better, feel calmer. I know that we create experiences that are not only beautiful and quality, but they're a safe space. And I'm looking forward to being able to do that and reach more people all over the world, across the country.
What does safe space mean to you?
Someplace that is where you're held by, and I mean space held by professionals with experience, someplace where you can feel like you can be yourself, be vulnerable, and just feel safe, secure. Yeah,
especially when you're doing the work on the brain.
Yeah.
You know, I think mental health and putting yourself in a place that's not the daily routine, getting out of the daily routine, going somewhere where you can be connected with people that you feel safe and come back to your life in a way that benefits you and those people around you is really powerful.
Yeah. And I think in psychedelics too, you know, it's very trendy to be in ceremony or in a ceremonial space, or to use psychedelics, you know, and have a shaman, whether they, you know, I believe shamans should be indigenous to whatever area, you know, has people that are facilitating medicine circles. I believe that that's a shaman, but there's a lot of unqualified characters in this industry that are holding these spaces that have no right to be holding these spaces just because they've sat in 100 ceremonies. I believe that it's our responsibility when creating these spaces to bring in people that have, you know, qualified training like MAPS certification, or, you know, a body of work behind them and research that's tangible, that's there. It's our duty to do that, to be responsible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I was doing some research for some content for a client last week, and came across this statistic that from Forbes Health that said at least 40 million adult Americans are experiencing some level of depression or anxiety or feelings of extreme isolation. And I think it's not coincidence that we're experiencing, you know, this industrial and education-based renaissance, but also this mental health renaissance where people are realizing that they have options that are different than traditional means in order to get better. Because not everyone has access to those traditional means. Not everyone resonates well with those traditional means, but almost everybody can, with a little bit of research and, you know, some hand-holding, find some version of a medicine, a plant medicine, whether it's psychedelic or not, that will help them to feel most like themselves. Yeah. And I think that's what psychedelics really allow you to be able to do, is like come to yourself more.
Yes. Provided you are the right candidate for it.
Provided,
right.
Obviously,
Provided that you are the right candidate for that, with some sort of mental health screening.
And even cannabis can be considered a plant medicine. And even if it's not the THC, you know, aspect of cannabis, CBD is another really great piece of cannabis that helps a lot of people. Delta 8, like there's parts of a plant somewhere for you. Yeah. You guys have any New Year's resolutions yet? I know we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close, and I guess you're supposed to set intentions.
I don't like resolutions.
I don't like them either.
Because I like intentions. Yeah. Like I'm moving into 2024 with the intention of more love, courage, and consciousness were the 3 words for me for 2023. And I set that intention actually with another former guest and beloved friend, Garrett Brill, along with Lynn and Sam. We were all at the house together, and we were, you know, setting our intentions for 2023. So I definitely feel like love is coming with me again in 2024, and alignment, and connection. These are definitely words that are intentions for 2024.
Good intentions. Instead of a to-do list, I like doing a kind of a stop doing list, and that's always an exercise that I like to think about at the beginning of the year.
What's something that's on your stop doing list?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I haven't given it a whole lot of thought yet, so you guys are putting me on the spot.
Is stuffing in random closet drawers or doors one of them?
Have you been talking to Holly? Between you and Holly, it's like, so yeah, I am a little bit of a stuffer. And you know what? It's about like, yeah, if it's out of sight, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's like, I got to put stuff away.
And if you know where it is, it's not lost. I'm going to put that away.
It's not stuffed. It's just away.
It's just where it's supposed to be. So if you know where it is, it's where it's supposed to be.
So I know your love language, and you like labels, and you like things put in spots, and I understand that. So, yeah, I
said with love.
Yes. I'm thinking about just my relationship with alcohol. A little less of that. I feel like over the years, it's just slowly kind of been less and less. But it's not something that I'm like, I'm going to stop. I'm not there, and I don't necessarily think I want to be there. But it's just my awareness around the hangover and the headache that you get the next day is like, well, that kind of sucks. And going back to cannabis beverages, more of those, even though you can be a little groggy the next day. Yeah, alcohol is one of those things that I think a little bit of a stop doing, but pulling back a little bit, I guess. I mean, I don't drink very much anyways, but.
How about you, Taylor?
One of the things I think I'm not learning, because I've known this about myself for a while, but definitely been pushing against it. One of the things I'm starting to accept this year is I don't like being told what to do, even by myself. So I think this will be the first year that I don't do resolutions, because it feels like every single year I set a list of resolutions and my brain is like, I don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Because somebody, even though it's just myself, has told me to do it. So I just rage against the machine. I cannot help it. Could be a lot of different things, but I think this year I'm just going to continue to do a little bit of everything that I want to do.
Yes.
And I always say, you can literally do whatever the fuck you want, as long as you're not hurting anybody and you're not harming anybody. Just do you. And I think that's probably going to be the attitude that I carry into 2024. Oh my gosh, 2024.
Yeah.
Is just to do more of like exactly what it is that I want to do at any given time. And I don't know, that could be a good thing and that could be a bad thing. We'll see next year and see if I change my mind or if I do it again.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've just got to kind of honor my personality and just let myself be. I'm also just really, really hard on myself for everything. And I expect a lot from myself. So I think giving myself a break this coming up year is going to be good for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of to piggyback on that, it's either a hell yes or it's a no. Mm-hmm. That becomes a pretty quick indicator of if I'm going to do something or not. So there's be first, and then asking myself, am I going to do this? Is it a hell yes? And if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. I
would say if I was going to just speak to anyone who's wanting to set those intentions or resolutions or anti-resolutions, whatever you want to call them, my advice would be to take advantage of all the free knowledge that's out there. There's so much of it, especially with AI. You've got a supercomputer in your pocket. And I know that like you used to always have a supercomputer in your pocket, but it truthfully couldn't do everything. Siri is the most annoying woman on the world. You know, she does not listen. No. She does not help. She does not give you good information. No. But ChatGPT, other AI bots, they really, I mean, obviously you need to fact check everything because nothing is 100% correct all the time, but you have access to so much knowledge and information that anything that you're curious about, anything that you want to learn more about, anything that you've heard about on the news and you want to like just understand more, anything that you like have heard about in terms of like a career path, or you want to get into coding, you want to learn how to edit, you want to learn how to do anything, like everybody's got access to a supercomputer in their pocket. Not everybody, but if you're able to, be blessed enough to have access to technology, you can learn anything and you can teach yourself anything and you can become exactly who it is that you want to be. And it's never been easier than it is now. So that is one thing for sure I know I'm going to do more of, is just educate myself, research things. I've got 1,000,001 credits on Audible. A bunch of audiobooks need to be listened to. If you've got a Spotify, they just started putting audiobooks on there too, and a lot of those are free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's some amazing content for you to consume that will help you to be a better person than you are today. So that is probably hands down the thing I'm most excited for in 2024. Awesome. Is just starting the year with AI, just having an intention set that I'm going to just learn as much as I humanly can, just absorb everything, and let that shape who I am.
It's a good plan.
Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just to add a little bit to that in terms of AI, I don't know if this probably won't age well. I love it when we look back at things and they're like, do you remember email, like the at www and all of that? Google Gemini.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of it yet?
No.
Google Gemini was just released and it's their new AI. It's it's next level. It's beyond next level. I saw their presentation and demo on it. I mean, it came out like 8 days ago.
You know, I want to see more of that too. More like demonstrations and presentations from companies.
Well, look at the Google Gemini demo that was just a couple days ago.
I'm excited for that.
It's amazing. I think a big part of all of this, we were talking about how fast things are going. You know, it's being open and aware and open to these changes that are happening. I think that when we talk about getting older and it going so fast is when you start to close up to music and art and culture and think that, hey, there's only one way and it was the way it was 20 years ago. And I think your ability to stay young and relevant is a big part of that, is being open to technology and art and
adaptability.
Yes.
Being
change.
Open.
Yep.
Not fixed and closed.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, friends, I think that wraps it up for us for our year in review.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Sign up for our email list at Plant.Body.Soul.com. You can find out when we're doing drops on these really exciting events and retreats coming in 2024. Follow us on social for all the fun content that Taylor has a big part in directing and making. And you can find us at Plant.Body.Soul on Instagram, as well as Plant.Body.Soul on both Facebook and YouTube. All right.
See you in 2024.
Bye for now.
Thanks.